What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way, The Tell All Part 1. So it was a really beautiful thing that they attached the Tell All Part 1 to the finale. And I think they did this last year as well, on one of these 90 Day shows. I'm not sure which one, where the tell all was right after the last episode of the season. I really did like that because we didn't have to wait an entire week for part one, because this is going to be a 3-parter. So yes, let's get into part one quickly ASAP. So it starts off with the cast members congregating in the back room or the green room. I don't know what it is. They're back there congregating, and they're talking about the show and who they liked and who they didn't like, etc. So we see Gabe and Nicole, and Gabe tells Nicole that his least favorite person was Mahmoud, Nicole's husband. He did not care for Mahmoud at all. And then Danielle says that, here comes Danielle, okay? I don't know what the hell she was talking about, but Danielle comes in there and she says that people expected her to bow down to Johan and do all the cooking and all the cleaning for Johan. What people thought this, Danielle? Who thought this? That you should have bowed down to Johan and been this very submissive wife and cooked and cleaned for? Who the hell thought this? I didn't think this. I didn't read it about anybody else thinking this. We just wanted you to treat your husband with a little bit more dignity and respect, because you were walking all over him, emasculating him, dehumanizing him, being very demanding, being very bossy with him, not taking his feelings or anything into consideration. It was just your way or the highway. So I didn't expect you to cook and clean for him. I just expected this to be more of an equal type of a relationship. Gabe says that he's a fan of Osama, and he thinks that Osama and Debbie love each other very much. What? Gabe, were you watching the same shows we were? You were watching the same Osama that we were watching? Osama is a user and an abuser. He does not love Debbie, not one iota. He loves what Debbie could possibly do for him, but I don't think he loves Debbie as a wife. I don't think he loves Debbie as a person. So, Gabe, you need to correct yourself and get on the right side of history. No, we're not fans of Osama over here. We don't like what Osama did to Debbie and how he treated Debbie. Debbie has become like a fan favorite. I did not believe that Osama and Debbie's relationship could possibly be real, because it just seems so far-fetched. But I guess it was a real relationship, which just makes it extremely scary that a woman her age really fell for a guy 40 years younger than her from a whole nother country, who, she completely uprooted her entire life to go live with him in another country, and just assumed that everything was going to work out all hunky-dory. So it's very, very scary that people like this actually exist. But of course, Debbie grew on us. We love Debbie. We think that she's funny. She gets straight to the point. She doesn't mess around. We felt for her. She stood up for herself. We loved her for that when she finally stood up for herself to this Osama guy. Debbie's absolutely lovable. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I mean, for us to see her again would mean that she would have to fall in love again. And I think she wants to take a break from all of that. But we cannot get enough of Debbie. Yes, we do love Debbie. So we don't like people who make Debbie feel bad, Gabe. So yeah, we're not fans of Osama over here. So when Debbie arrives, she arrives and she says that she's at the epicenter of temporary insanity. Moving on from that. So then Chris arrives, and Chris says that she's been extremely sick. Okay, Chris, what else is new? I'm surprised that she didn't show up in a hospital bed hooked up to an IV. Like, they just didn't roll her onto the stage on a damn hospital bed with an IV stuck in her arm. I'm shocked that she just came walking on her own 2 legs. But she said that she's been extremely sick, thrown up at the damn airport. We don't need to know that, but yes, we know you are of very delicate health, Chris. But you like, going back and forth between America and Colombia and ruining people's lives and just being a complete ruckus. Gabe is also not a fan of Chris, and he makes fun of Chris and all of her physical ailments. So Tim and Veronica, they're going to be giving their commentary, and I'm like, why? Don't we get enough of them on Pillow Talk? Why are we watching? I don't understand the thing about having commentary, and I understand that, I'm going to assume that the producers of whatever, they really, really like Tim, and they feel like we want more and more of Tim. I like Tim as well, but I don't need him on, Pillow Talk. I don't need him being a commentator at the I don't need all that. I'm okay with him being on Pillow Talk. I don't know what I said before that. I'm okay with him being on Pillow Talk, and that's it. So It's showtime. Everybody's on set. The beautiful Sean arrives, and she goes down the line, kind of getting a little bit of intro tidbits from everybody. Debbie and Osama. Debbie said that she's been ignoring Osama. Osama's been blowing up her phone, calling her, texting her, but she's completely, been leaving him on red or just not reading his text messages at all, not answering his calls. Danielle and Johan, yes, they are still technically married, so we know there's trouble in paradise. And then Nicole and Mahmoud. Nicole, they asked Mahmoud, what do you think about Nicole's dress? Mahmoud. They asked Mahmoud, what do you think about Nicole's dress? And he says, the dress does bother him, but he has to admit that she does look amazing. And then Chris and Jamie, they have not talked since their fight when they celebrated Jamie's birthday at the pool. So let's get started with the show. First up is Debbie and Osama. Debbie says to us that the old Osama was not a mean person. The Osama that she fell in love with online was not a mean person. He was very nice, sweet, lovable, kind, caring. But the Osama that she met in Morocco was a very mean person. That's because, Debbie, the Osama that you met in Morocco was the real Osama. The Osama that you had a relationship with online was just a representative of the real Osama. Of course, he had to be sweet, kind, caring, loving, or whatever, because he had a mission, he had an agenda, and that was for you to pay for him to get his documents in order for him to come to the United States. So once you told him that that was not your agenda, then you got to meet the real Osama. So Johan sides with Osama. Johan sides with Osama. He says that Debbie needs to give a guy a chance. Give him a chance. Go, get him a ticket to come over here, to come to the United States and help him out. Bring him over to the United States. And, Johan, he has a really simple way of just, he sees the world in a really simple way. He's like, yeah, he wants to come to America, so help him out. What's the big deal? And I think it was Johan himself, but somebody had said that Johan and Osama are very similar. They both wanted a way to get to the United States. But Johan, he's like, you can love your woman and still want her to bring you to the United States. I think that's how Johan sees it. Whereas, most other people are like, y'all are just using these women for green cards. Johan is like, no, you can still love your woman, and your woman should still want you to have a better life and bring you to the United States. So Osama says that he did love Debbie, but he doesn't love her anymore. And the reason why he was constantly blowing up her phone, he says, it wasn't because he was trying to get back with her. He says he was blowing up her phone and calling her and texting her constantly because he wanted her to understand that it was over. Okay, her silence is telling everybody that it's over. You don't have to verbalize it. The fact that she's ignoring you, her ignoring you, and her not talking to you, that's enough for everyone to understand that it's over. So Mahmoud believes that Osama was using Debbie. Thank you, Mahmoud. So Debbie's son, Julian, he comes out, and he comes out guns blazing. He didn't even have a chance to sit down before he started attacking your boy, Osama. And he tells him, you better leave my mom alone. He tells us that Osama he was sending 60 texts in 2 hours to Debbie. Debbie tells us that Osama sends her I love you text, even though he says on the tell-all, I don't love her anymore, but he was sending her I love you. Obviously, he was trying to get back into her good graces because he realized where he messed up, and he wanted to get back in her good graces, and he wanted her to continue to help him come to America, point blank, period. He was just trying to, weasel his way back into her heart so that she can help him get a green card. That's the bottom line. Julian says he tells Osama, quit preying on vulnerable elderly women. So the question was, Osama, did you have an attraction to Debbie? And Osama says very coyly, he's like, you know what, Debbie, why don't you tell them about our night in Casablanca? And Debbie clears it up real fast. She was like, yeah, he was trying to put the moves on me, but it didn't go any further than that. He was trying to, get real comfy and real close to me, but I guess Debbie wasn't having it. Who knows what happened in Casablanca? What happens in Casablanca stays in Casablanca, I guess. We'll never know the truth. But I wish Osama would have elaborated a little bit more. But I guess his silence meant that Debbie was right. That he was the one trying to put the moves on her, but maybe for whatever reason, Debbie just wasn't feeling it. So Debbie says, they asked her, how much money have you sent him? And she says in the course of the 3 or 4 years that they've known each other, she sent him a total of $2,000. And she says, every time he needed money for groceries, I would send him money for groceries. groceries. Julian tells Osama to get a job. You need to get a job like everybody else. And Osama talks about how he's a poet and he can't be bothered with work because it interferes with his creativity because he's a poet. And so Julian then says that the people on stage were suggesting were suggesting to Osama, you're an artist, you paint. Why don't you sell your painting? I think it was Gabe that says, sell your painting to tourists because they like to take that as souvenirs. And Osama says, I can only sell my paintings to people who understand my art. Y'all, it's a lost cause. Don't try to convince this man to get a job. For him to say something like that, it's a lost cause. He's very pampered. He's very spoiled. He probably has several 60-something-year-old women all lined up, and he's just knocking them out one by one, seeing which one will take, which one will be the one to get him to America, to take care of him, to support him, financially support him, so he can go on and do whatever the hell he wants to do. Anything under the sun except work. The question was, have you been trying to get Debbie back? And Osama says, yes, I tried before. And then Julian tells Debbie, you need to delete him from your phone and delete him from your iPad. Julian was not messing around. He was telling his mom what's what. He was telling his mom, you need to stop this craziness and you need to get rid of this man, and any way that he can possibly contact you, you need to delete all of that, all your WhatsApp, your whatever you got to block him, delete him, all of that stuff, because it's going to stop here tonight, Mom. And so the question was, Debbie, would you ever go back? And Debbie says, well, he'd have to move mountains for me. And so Sean asked her, well, how would he give us an example of him moving mountains for you to go back to him? And she said something about him buying her a ticket, which is obviously very, impossible for Osama to do. But if he did do that, so Debbie, you're telling us that you'd go back to Osama after he completely embarrassed and humiliated you on television? You would go back to this man? He said you were crazy. So during the break, she's talking to her son, Julian, and she tells her son something about how she may shut doors, but she doesn't lock them on people, which kind of gave the implication that, she's keeping the door unlocked for Osama. So keeping the possibility there that they might get back together. But her son Julian was like, not as long as I'm breathing. That will never happen. And then Debbie, she's trying to hook up her son with Jen. She told her son, what do you think about Jen? She's a very beautiful woman. And he's like, give her my number. Moving on to Nicole and Mahmoud. So Nicole, they asked her about, okay, so what is the plan right now with you and your husband? And Nicole says that the paperwork has been submitted. He can be approved for his visa at any time now, so he can be arriving in the United States any day. Nicole, I need you to have several conversations, because you can't do it all in one conversation. I need you, Nicole, to have several conversations with Mahmoud before he arrives and once he arrives. And the conversations can never stop. You need to prepare this man for life in America. Okay, you need to, and I don't know if you know what goes on with people of color in America. I think when we first met Nicole, we saw her and her two best friends in LA. I don't know if they were women of color. I think they were. I hope somebody is schooling you on what life is like for foreigners, number one, and for people of color, number two. You need to prepare this man, because your husband is he has a very quick temper. Okay, and we saw this at the end of the tell-all. He has an extremely quick temper, and if he gets aggravated and pissed off, we don't want your husband landing in jail. Okay, so Nicole, please have a conversation about what he's going to be facing to prepare him and to teach him some coping mechanisms on what he needs to do when he gets triggered. Because one thing's for sure and two things for certain, Mahmoud's going to get triggered, because he got triggered on the damn tell-all. So they talk about the history of how they met. They met, then they got engaged 7 days later. And they both say that we would never do something like that, because Mahmoud said he never saw himself getting married. And Nicole said that she would never have rushed into anything that quickly, but for each other. She would only have done this with Mahmoud. And Mahmoud was like, the only one who would make me reconsider the idea of marriage would only be Nicole. So the question is, did Nicole understand the concept of Islam? And she says, I didn't know. Of course she didn't. And I'm pretty sure somebody told her that in order for this marriage to take place, you're going to have to convert I'm pretty sure it was probably Mahmoud himself who was like, I can't marry a woman who's not Muslim. And I think that's why she converted. I don't think she really did this willy-nilly. But Mahmoud says that her converting to Islam was completely her choice. Maybe it was her choice. Maybe she was like, I just want to make my husband happy. I'm going to convert because I'm very open-minded. I'm liberal. I'm open-minded about different religions and whatever. Yeah, I'll go ahead and convert. But she didn't do her research, had no idea what she was getting herself into. So she just did it willy-nilly, which I think is a little bit disrespectful to the religion. But whatever, she did it. She didn't like it. Now she's out of it. So Mahmoud says that being Muslim was up to Nicole, but if they do have children, his children will be raised Muslim. So then Gay begins to question that, like, why would you force this on your children, etc., etc. And I'm thinking to myself, Gay, no, sir. Don't go there. Don't go there. Religion and the rearing of children is extremely personal and private. Don't go there. Especially when these two people don't even have children yet. Let's not start an argument for no reason, just for the sake of arguing. There's no children in existence between Mahmoud and Nicole. So you asked the question. He answered. He says, my children will be Muslim. Let it go. Once he arrives in America, who knows what's going to happen if these two people, once they have children, if they ever have children. We cannot sit here and start tearing into each other on probabilities and possibilities and fantasies and things that haven't even happened yet. It's so stupid to me how the argument between Mahmoud and everybody else that was questioning him and challenging him on his religion, how crazy it got when there's no even children in existence. Anyways, so then Danielle has to give her damn 2 cents, and she's asking Nicole, she says, Nicole, will you take your kids to a Quranic school? And I think Nicole was like, I don't know, because I don't have kids. And then I loved it when Sean said, would y'all be asking these questions if Mahmoud said he was going to raise his children Jewish or Christian? Hell no, they wouldn't be asking these questions, because they are prejudiced against Muslims. And as much as Gabe wants to make it seem like, I don't believe in forcing people to be a certain religion, I don't think you'd be asking this question, because the other people did you ask Danielle and Johan, well, how are you going to raise your children? Are you going to raise your children Christian? Are you going to be those kind of parents that raise their children Christian? You didn't ask that to any other couple, but you're going to ask that to Mahmoud. And he says he's going to raise his children. That is his business, his prerogative, his future children. That is strictly between him and damn Nicole. And so then Gabe talks about how, well, you're forcing Nicole, because Gabe says to Mahmoud, you shouldn't force religion on children. And Mahmoud says, what are you talking about force? What is this force? I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. And then Gabe says, well, you force your wife to dress like this and dress like that, and you force her and you trap her and you control her. And that's when Mahmoud got really upset, and he took off his mic. He was cussing everybody out, and he left. He exited stage left. And this is Nicole, this is what I'm talking about. Your husband gets easily triggered. We don't need him ending up in jail. You need to talk to him about what he's going to be facing here. And he wants to raise his children, I'm not going to question that. All I'm going to say is he might find some serious opposition. His own children. I'm not even going to go there, because these children don't even exist yet. Nicole, you need to talk to your husband. While y'all are busy arguing about what you're going to wear, what you're not going to wear, you need to talk to him about what he might be facing once he arrives here as a minority, as a person of color, not just ethnicity wise. He's also a minority as far as religion, where, girl, talk to your husband about what he's going to be facing when he gets here, and make sure that he has his emotions and his temper under control. You need to get him ready for life in America. It is no joke. Okay. It's no joke. He's going to end up dead or in jail or in some serious trouble because he cannot control himself. And that's where it ended when Mahmoud exited stage left, and then Nicole started crying, and it was a hot mess. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.